I want to start today's Browns Report off by asking this question. To pick a QB, keyword pick, not a better quarterback, but if you wanted to pick one, who would you rather have, Watson or Mayfield? Put their jersey number down below for me. Let me know which QB you'd rather have, not the better one, but who you'd rather have on the Browns roster. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. We got a couple of segments on today's show, really just two. We're going to look at Baker Mayfield trade destinations, and right before we started filming, the Colts got Matt Ryan from the Falcons, so that shook things up a little bit in the market. And then we're going to wrap up the video by looking at an interesting trade rumor surrounding a star pass rusher, so we'll check that out at the tail end. But first, Baker trade destinations. The first one up is the Seattle Seahawks. They moved on from Russell Wilson. Maybe not moved on. They traded Russell Wilson. I don't know if they really wanted to move on from that relationship. So now they're going to be competitors and try and look for an improvement in Drew Lock, who they got back from the Broncos. So I cooked up mock trades for all three of all these teams, and we'll break it down a little bit. But this one's a little spicy. We got a lot of moving pieces. I've got the Seahawks receiving Baker Mayfield, a 6th and a 5th, because GMs love to throw meaningless late-round picks. And in return, the Browns get a 3rd-round pick and Shelby Harris, who the Seahawks got from the Broncos. And this helps the Cleveland Browns at that need at the defensive tackle spot. So Browns don't get a 2nd-rounder for Baker, but they get a 3rd. They gave up a couple draft picks, and they get an impact player in Shelby Harris. I don't know if the Seahawks really want to keep Shelby Harris. So to be honest with you, I don't know what Seattle's really doing right now. I mean, my producer Marshall and I were talking about this. They got Noah Fant, Drew Lock, and Shelby Harris, and a couple picks, and good picks too, for Russell Wilson. I don't think any of those 3 players are going to be on Seattle's roster for more than 2 seasons. Right? Those were just moves of, well, if we're going to have to trade Russell Wilson, we might as well get a lot of assets back, and we'll see what works. But if the Browns want to offer us a 3rd-round pick, and we get rid of a 30-year-old defensive tackle on a team that's not ready to compete for a Super Bowl, unlike the Cleveland Browns, yeah, we'll invest in youth and we'll take a draft pick. And sure, you can have Harris. He's a good player, but he doesn't fit what we're trying to do right now. Let's start this show off early with the question as well. What is Baker's trade value? This has been a question that's been floated around Browns Twitter spaces and Browns Twitter a lot. We just saw Matt Ryan go for a 3rd-round pick. Is Baker a 3rd? I don't think he's a 1st. Maybe a 2nd, because you could talk a GM into, you're going to get him on his rookie deal still. I understand that's 1 year left on his contract, but he's still entering just his 5th year in the NFL. There's a lot of youth upside there. And the Panthers sold themselves on Sam Darnold similarly, and they got a 2nd-rounder, or they gave up a 2nd-rounder for him. Could you find another GM willing to do that? Let me know in the comments below. Next trade destination. Obviously, the Atlanta Falcons. Originally had the Indianapolis Colts in this video. Not anymore, because the Colts got Matt Ryan. Now the Falcons are looking for a QB. So here's a trade that I think a little interesting. What about Baker for almost a complete swap for Grady Jarrett? The Browns need a defensive tackle. The Falcons have one. One that's been in trade rumors and on the trade markets for a little over a year now. How about both teams just help each other out a little bit at positions of need? The Falcons get a QB, and they don't have to worry about starting Marcus Mariota or a rookie QB with their 8th overall pick. And in return, the Browns get immediate impact at a position of need, the defensive tackle spot. They get one of the best out there. They also give up a 5th-round, or they get a 5th-round pick, because at the end of the day, the quarterback position is more valuable than a defensive tackle. This could be fun. But I honestly don't even know, just like Seattle, what Atlanta's short-term plan is, right? Why did you trade Matt Ryan for a 3rd? If you think a 3rd-round pick is going to help smooth everything over, I think you're delirious. I mean, I get it that Matt Ryan's down the end of his career, but in terms of just winning now, you're going to do a lot more of that with Matt Ryan than with a rookie quarterback and a 3rd-round pick. So that one was a head-scratcher for me. I think the Colts absolutely won that trade. I don't think Matt Ryan is close to done. I think he's got 3, maybe 4 years left in him. And the Colts, they have been a revolving door at QB. So let's get back on track, though. We'll look at some other trade options in just a second. But if you can't wait for week 1, after seeing Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper go to Cleveland in the last week, 2 weeks, then you better subscribe. Because I want to reach 10,000 subs by kickoff week 1. So help me do that. Join the channel if you have not already. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Next trade destination team, the New Orleans Saints. Missed out on, you notice the theme here? We got basically three teams that missed out on Deshaun Watson. Two finalists in the Falcons and the Saints. So Saints maybe try to go for consolation prize after missing out on Watson. And Mayfield, he's looking pretty right now. So here's a mock trade right now. The Saints get Baker Mayfield. And in order for the Browns to try and get a second-round pick, they give up a 6. They have 2 6-round picks, if I remember correctly. So you got to spend a little money right there, right? You give them a 6, and in return, they give you a 2nd in exchange instead of a 3rd-round pick. So I think this would be a pretty balanced trade on both sides. Now, here's what's interesting about New Orleans. They may try to bring Jameis Winston back. They were rumored to try and bring him back in the fold after missing out on Deshaun Watson. He is coming off that ACL injury, and he probably won't be ready week 1. He posted a cool training video, which just every athlete does whenever they get hurt in the offseason to show that they're ready. Basically telling their own team, give me a big contract, I'm ready, putting the league on notice. But if they decide they don't want to roll with Winston, I liked Jameis Winston through the first 7 weeks. But if not, I know a team like the Cleveland Browns has a QB ready to trade. We'll get to the rest of the show in just a second, but we are also on Rumble, which is another video platform service similar to YouTube. So if you're looking for more ways to get Browns content, or just uncensored news, sports, politics, business, all that good stuff that you can find on YouTube, but a little more rated PG-13 than PG on YouTube, follow us at rumble.com/Browns Report. I'll get that link for you in the comments and the description as well. I want to ask this question, though. Where will Baker be traded to? Maybe I should have asked this earlier on, but time to get your crystal balls out and predict it for me. Which team do you think is ultimately going to trade for Baker Mayfield? Because I can promise you this. He's not going to be on the Browns roster. He's not going to be an $18 million backup quarterback ahead of Jacoby Brissett and behind Deshaun Watson. Here are some 2 long shots that I didn't include in the video, I didn't include in the trade packages. Maybe the Lions. They still are on the hook a lot of money for Jared Goff. But we have learned one thing so far in the last month in the NFL. Never say never. So we never thought Devontae Adams would get traded. Or that after Watson told the Browns they were out, they all of a sudden came back in. So another team like the Carolina Panthers, they probably learned their lesson from Sam Darnold. Right? Do they really want to trade for another QB from the 2018 draft class and give up a 2nd or a 3rd rounder and get burned on it? Maybe, probably not, but never say never. Now, are the Browns interested in Danielle? I don't even know. Danielle, I think that's Danielle Hunter, the edge rusher for the Minnesota Vikings. So, Dav had an interesting tweet and may not be happening anymore following all the recent trades that have happened. But if we learned one thing at AB, don't count them out. So, here's what Dav tweeted out. Browns have looked into trading for Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter, according to Jeremy Fowler at ESPN. Hunter had his $18 million roster bonus become guaranteed on Sunday, so a deal isn't expected. Well, if you look at what Hunter has done the last couple years up in Minneapolis, he's been one of the best edge rushers. Now, he did miss all of 2020 due to a neck injury, so there's no stats there. In 2021, he had his season cut short midway through. But look at 2019 and 2018. You're combining for 29 sacks in 2 seasons. He quickly rose to be one of the best edge rushers in the NFL. Injuries have detoured his career the last 2 seasons. But if you're a team like the Browns who want to really win now and think, if we can get him healthy, if we can get 16 games, 17 games out of him with Myles Garrett, we're the best team in the AFC with Deshaun Watson. And so finally, I want to end on this note. With Andrew Berry, never say never. I mean, how many times were we told the Browns were not? I mean, I was wrong. Hand up right here. I was one of the people saying they're not going to trade for a QB. Barry said Baker's our guy, and I was proven wrong, and I'll own that. So with that in mind, if he wants to go out and get a guy, he'll do it. He has shown with a track record that he is an aggressive GM, and if he wants a player, he's taking him. He may not even ask for the other team to agree to it. He may just say, I'll come pack. I'll bring the U-Haul. I've got some tape, some Scotch tape, and some boxes. We'll color code, so like living room, dining room, and we'll get this guy to Cleveland, right? He has shown that he is that kind of GM. All right, that's going to do it for us on today's show. We'll wrap things up with that. We'll catch up with you guys later here on the Cleveland Browns Report.